Hello guys, welcome to excelfornoobs.com and subjectmoney.com. What I'm going to do here is a Microsoft Excel 2016 tutorial for beginners. Basically it's going to be a crash course going over the most basic features, and it gets into some intermediate features of Microsoft Excel. Either way, it's going to be stuff that you're going to have to know how to use in order to be at least decently proficient and using Excel. It does get more advanced, so even if you see things that you already know or you're pretty familiar with, don't just click off the video. Keep watching, because I can almost guarantee that you're going to come across something that you haven't done before. There is something to learn in this video, so keep watching. And before you do anything, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. For all you newbies out there, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of explain the software. What is Microsoft Excel used for? It's a spreadsheet software used to organize and calculate data. It's as simple as that. And it definitely it's easy to use, especially once you start getting familiar with it. It does become extremely easy to use. I mean, it's almost self-explanatory. And really the best way to learn is to start with these tutorials, but just get on Excel and mess around with it yourself. Just experiment creating your own worksheets. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Right up here in this area, this is called the ribbon. You can see where you have all of these little buttons are commands in the ribbon. Up here you have different tabs. The Insert tab, Page Layout, Formula, Data, Review, and View. I'm not going to go into detail on all of these, but just know they're there, and we will be using some of them. Inside each tab, you'll have your groups. Like here you have Clipboard, the Font group, Alignment group, and then inside each group you have your commands. These are easy, basically easy access buttons to command Excel to do things that you want it to do. Okay, so I'll go over data entry. You're going to have to know how to insert data. I'm sure you know how, but I'm just going to explain it very quickly and briefly. Okay, so you have three types of data. You have text. Right there, I'm inserting text data. You have numeric values, which are obviously numbers. And then you're going to have formulas, which you would always use an equal symbol to do a formula, and 4 plus 4. There's a simple formula. You can see you have your result. Okay, to enter data into a cell, you're going to double click on that cell just like I did there. Now I'm erasing data. You're going to double click and you're going to type in your data. You can double click on the cell and type just like I did there. Or up here you have your formula bar where it says 12 right now. That's your formula bar. You can click onto a cell and then you can click into your formula bar and you can type in some data. Okay, so you know how to enter in data. Now I'm going to show you basically just a little bit of navigation in Excel. You can always use your mouse. Okay, I have this thing right here, just begging you guys to continue watching my video, but let me go ahead and get it out of the way since you've seen it. Okay, so you can select cells with your mouse. That's what I'm doing here. So if you want to select a cell to insert data, you just select it with your mouse, just like I'm doing, and then you can type away. You can also use a keyboard. Okay. Now I've selected that cell, the cell that I wanted to start. I selected it with my mouse or keypad. But now I'm moving around with my arrows on the keyboard. So right now I'm hitting the right arrow, the down arrow, the left arrow, and the up arrow, and that's getting me around. Now if I want to move to the next cell with data, I'm pressing my control key and now I hit the right arrow. And what it did was it skipped any empty cell and moved right to the very next cell with data. I can do it when I go down. Now I press the down arrow there. Now I'll press the left arrow and the up arrow. You can see it's skipping all empty cells. Now that's not the only thing that it does when you do that. Now I'm pressing my control key, hitting the right arrow. Now I'm going to hit the right arrow again. I moved over to this next range of cells that has data in it. And now watch, I'm going to hit my right arrow. It kind of did the opposite. It moved to the very end of the cells with data. Down arrow, right arrow, up arrow. So Excel recognizes that this range of cells is complete with data. So it's useful if you're on a worksheet and you want to go to the very end of the worksheet. You just hit the right arrow, down arrow, left arrow. Okay. Another thing you can do, you can select cells. Now you're going to select cells. You can select it with your mouse by dragging a range of cells. I'm just clicking and I'm dragging my mouse right, dragging it down. You would do that if you want to, say you want to format that entire range of cells. You want to add some fill color. Now you're doing the entire range. Or you want to add some number formats, which you wouldn't do number formats there in text, but for example, number formats, I'm going to select these two cells. There, I added a number format. Okay, so you can select a range of cells with your mouse, just like that. Or you can select, you can pick and choose which cells you want to select. So I'm pressing my control key and I'm selecting a cell. I'm just selecting different cells. And I can jump around all over the worksheet. And I can add different colors. I can add borders, and so on. But you can see that you can select cells. Now another thing you can do is you can use your mouse. I'm pressing the shift key and the right arrow. And as I do that, I'm selecting a range of cells with my keyboard. Now here, you cannot individually select cells. You can't pick and choose, but you can select an entire range. Right arrow, down arrow. Up arrow, I'm deselecting. Up arrow, deselecting again, and deselecting. But you get the point. Now, you can also select different ranges. I can select a range of cells here, press the control key, now select a different range. I'm holding the control key and selecting a different range. Okay, and that's how you can edit your cells and your content by selecting. Okay, some more data entry. I'm going to teach you autofill. Basically, Excel is extremely smart. It recognizes patterns. Any pattern that you can think of, Excel probably recognizes it. So example, January. Excel understands that that's a month. Right here you can see that the box has this green border around it, and you can see the little green box. You just drag this along to the next cell and you can see it's entering in your months: March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December, and it automatically fills in your cell. Now what it did there, this cell was formatted. I had a border there, so when it's also going to carry over not only your content, but it's going to automatically fill in your formats in your cell, which I'll go over in more depth later on. Okay, here's another pattern. Okay, 10, 20, I'll just do 30 here. Okay, Excel is going to know that there I'm doing intervals of 10, and it will just completely fill that in, and I can do that infinitely to the very end of there's basically an infinite number of cells in Excel. Okay, here's another feature. This is when you're working with when you're manually typing in a lot of data. So you can see here I've entered in some different words. Okay, now in this next cell I'm going to start typing, and you can see Excel recognized that I had already entered that word and it automatically filled it in for me. Now you can see here that I have two words that start with the same three letters: rangers and ranchers. Okay, so watch what happens. I'll start typing. Okay, right now it has not automatically filled in my cell, because there's two words. It doesn't know which word I'm typing, but as soon as and there you can see it filled in the rest of the word for me. Okay, let me go back. If I hit a C, it automatically filled in ranchers. Okay, so that's the basics on data entry. A little bit more about navigation. You can just use the scroll bars here, you know, to scroll through the worksheet. I mean, you can also, you know, hit the control key and just go way down to the very end of the worksheet. The same thing with going down. And then you can zoom in right here in the very bottom right. You can zoom in, or you can hit the and zoom out. You can also press control, zoom in with your mouse, and zoom out. Okay, so I spent a little bit more time on that than I wanted to, but now you understand data entry and navigating through Excel. Okay, now let's get into formulas and functions. This is what really makes Excel you know, very useful. I mean, it's something that just, if you didn't have formulas, you really wouldn't even need Excel. It's the meat and potatoes of Microsoft Excel. All the formatting and how everything looks pretty is all great, but formulas and functions is what makes Excel so powerful. Okay, so you have addition. Okay, the plus sign is your operator, and you can manually enter in formulas. Now, like I said, every time you enter in a formula, you're going to have to hit the equal symbol. That's telling Excel that you're about to enter in a formula into that cell. So I can manually enter in formulas. That's equals 5 plus 4 plus 6 plus 2 plus 21,543. And you'll get a result, an accurate result. You can also manually select your cells. Equals cell D3. Now when I say cell D3, you can see that this is column D, row 3. So my cell address is D3, and that's also right up here in the cell address bar. Okay, so D3 plus E3 plus F3. Now what I did there was I referred to cells for my function arguments. Now watch this. If I change the data that I have manually, that I've hard coded into that cell, my result will change. So when I'm manually entering in content, I'm hard coding it. Now these results are not hard coded because they're dependent on other cells. It's changing. Okay. Another way to use the addition is to use the Autosum feature. So I'm going to select the cell. I'll go over here to the Formula tab, and over here you can see Autosum. I'm just going to press that command, and what it's doing is it recognizes that there is consecutive rows of cells that have hard-coded numeric values in them, and it's assuming that I want to sum up those numbers, but it doesn't do it right away. I'm going to have to press enter, but it's correct. So I hit Autosum. It's asking me, do you want to sum up the range of cells D3 through F3? And right there, inside these parentheses, is my function argument, the sum of the range of cells D3 through F3. I'm going to hit enter, and you can see my result. And again, it's dependent. Okay, another thing I can do is use the sum formula. Okay, so I'm going to hit equals sum. I have to open up all of my functions. Now this is a function, the sum function. I open up all function arguments, and now I'm going to select. I can select my cells again. Remember, when we're selecting cells, I can press Control and select them individually, and then Excel will separate each function argument with commas, and I can press enter. Or I can do it like a range of cells. Right there I'm selecting that entire range, and you can see it'll do a range of cells D3 through F3. Close my parentheses, and there we have our result. And I can select a range of cells and then press Control, and I can pick and choose what cells I want to add up, and then I can select a range of cells again. And you can see how it'll do a range of cells, but it'll separate each argument. The first argument, number 1, is cell D3 through F3, and then number 2, E7, and so on. I got to close it. Okay, and there I have my result. And now again, if I change the hard-coded values in any of those cells, my result will change. Okay, so let's just sum up the arguments there. Okay, we'll move on to subtraction. Subtraction is very simple. It's just our operator is the hyphen or the minus symbol, so I can hard code I can manually enter in a formula, or I can go, I can refer to them, refer to cells, and I can get results. Okay, multiplication, our operator is the asterisk. So I can go equals cell 35 times, or asterisk 15 times 30 or 20, and actually it wouldn't be 20, it would be the cell F5, and I can hit enter, and then again change these. My results will change, and then also I can pick and choose which cells I want to multiply. Well, no, that didn't work. I wasn't even entering in my operator. Now when I'm selecting these cells, I'm hitting the Control button. That way I can select individual cells, and I can multiply them like that. Okay, with multiplication, I can also use the product formula, equals product. Now you can see when I start typing in, Excel starts giving me a list of all functions that start with PRO. Now it's going to be the product function, and again we open up our function with the parentheses, and I can select a range of cells or individual cells. That's the product function. Okay, now something else I'm going to show you, and now we're going to go on to division, but what I'm going to show you is you can also find a function. Say you know what you want to do, but you don't know what the function is. You can go up here to the, if you're in the Home tab, you're going to have to select the Formula tab, and you can basically search for a function. Click on Insert Function, and here you'll have an Insert Function dialog box. You can, let's say, divide, and press OK. And then you can click on, that's recommended. It really, you can click on your functions. I don't know why it's recommending all of these other functions, but divide numbers, maybe. Should be the quotient formula. That was a bad example, but there's a quotient formula. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Find the sum of numbers. And there it has a sum. You can click through the functions, and then right down here it's going to give you a description of what that function does right here. But basically you type in a description, you start clicking from select a function and read the description of the function. Okay, so our for division, your operator is the /. You can divide numbers, like we'll do divide cell E6 by cell E5. And there we have a result. You also have the quotient formula. Double click it. We want the quotient. Now you can see right here for the quotient formula, there's only 2 arguments. the numerator, comma, I'm manually entering in comma, and you can see right here it tells you how to enter in your arguments. And the denominator, close it out, and there we have a result. And you need to understand that when you enter in your formulas, Excel, there's different types of arguments. Some formulas, such as the sum formula there, right here, you really have an infinite number of arguments. You can sum as many numbers as you want. You can multiply as many numbers as you want. For division, you can't do that. Okay, I accidentally edited my formula there, but it had the equal symbol in there, so it was looking for another cell to refer to, and you can see there that it notified me that there was an error in my formula. And also that sound that you heard was the dialog box popping me up, notifying me of a formula error. And a lot of times, if you do get an error, if Excel finds an error within your formula, that box will pop up and it will give you a recommended correction. You don't want to always believe that correction. You want to double check it. Okay, exponential. The operator is this hat symbol here, or up arrow, or whatever you want to call it. You could do that by mixing up formulas. 5 plus 5. Now you can put that in your parentheses, and you got to kind of understand the order of operations when you're messing with Excel, obviously. And then you can see now I'm doing 5 plus 5 to the power of 2. So I'm raising it. Change that. And then you can see also Excel shows gives you results in scientific notation. You can see I just did that again. You just got to be careful sometimes. Okay, concatenation. I don't really use this too much, but you can. Basically you can combine two cells. So it doesn't even have to be numbers. I can combine cell B8 and cell D8, and you can see it put those two together. But you can combine like cells that have content and formulas, and when they're all referring to each other. And for example, if you want to say like sales rep Mark Anderson, and then you can add in some content, had sales of, and then you can refer to their sales cell, something like that. Okay, logical comparisons. That's just like the equal. I can say 10. Okay, let me say equals. I'm entering in a formula. 10 equals, or cell D9 is equal to cell E9. It says false. Now watch if I change the hard-coded content within one of the cells, and it will give me the result of true. And this is the same thing with, you can use that with text content too. So like right here, I'll enter in a name in cell E16, and then in cell F16, I'll enter in a name. I can say equals, let me do it back up here, equals cell E16 equals cell F16. That's false. But now if I change the content, and now it's true. Okay, we have logical comparison greater than. Okay, so equals, let's say cell D10 is greater than cell E10. That's false. But now if I change the content, it's true. Okay, and it's the same thing with less than. Equals cell D11 is less than cell E11, and that's false. But then now it's true. Okay, and I really think you get it by now. For logical comparison, greater than or equal to equals 20, greater than or equal to. Okay, so cell D12 is not greater than or equal to 55, but now let's change it to 55 and we get a true result. It's equal to, or we can go up one. It's greater to and it's true, but now if we go down to 54, now it's less than, so our result is false. And I'll just keep going. Less than or equal to, false, and true. And then not equal to equals 120, or cell E14 is not equal to cell D14. That's true. But if we make them equal to, then it's false. Okay. Let's move this guy down. And I mean, even if you're familiar with all this stuff, there will be something for you to learn here if there hasn't already, as basic as this tutorial is. Okay, you can also combine formulas. Like I said, you need to be familiar with the order of operations. But I'll just show you real quick. And actually, I'll just do this over in this cell. Actually, that's where I meant to do it. Okay, I'm gonna just do a whole bunch of a combination of formulas here. Let's say the sum of that range of cells plus the product of those two cells minus 200 divided by 4. And you can just see I'm combining a bunch of different formulas. I mean, there's going to be times where you need to do that. And I'll do that later on in this tutorial in an actual example. And you can have even nested functions. Equals the sum of the product. So there, you can see that inside one of my arguments inside of my function is going to be a function. So the product of that range of cells. Oh, that's an error because I accidentally entered in content into the cell instead of selecting it. Okay, let's try this again. Equals sum of, and then we're going to do a nested function, product so the sum of the product, now that we have the product formula and a quotient formula. So right here, now I got to close my, remember you got to close your quotations. So for every open quotation, you have to have a closed quotation. So like right here, I closed my product formula quotation. I mean, not quotations, parentheses. And in my quotient formula, I closed the parentheses for my quotient function. And then right here at the very end, that's closing the original sum function. So I have two different functions nested within the sum function. I'll press enter, and I have a result. Now, remember, when you're combining formulas, like I said, you need to make sure the order of operations, that you are very, you know the order of operations. Okay, now let's get over to cell reference. I believe you have a good understanding of formulas and functions there. Okay, when you're referring to cells, you've seen we've already been referring to cells in this tutorial. You can refer to cells, you can refer to other cells in other worksheets, you can refer to cells in other workbooks, whether they're open or closed or even in other networks. I'm not going to get into that much detail, but just know that you can do that. Okay, now when you're there's three different types of cell reference. You're going to have relative cell reference, absolute cell reference, and mixed cell reference. Relative cell reference is, now I'm just going to show you with an example. It's just like this. Here in this example, I have basically three different funds that I'm going to invest in: low risk, medium risk, high risk. And here are all of their returns, percentage, on an annual percentage. And then right here I have income growth. Let's just say my income grows each year, so I'm going to increase my contribution into my savings each year. Okay, so first you can see for each year I'm contributing $5,000. I've already hard-coded that in, and you already know how to do that. Now I actually already entered in my formulas, but I'm going to do it again. And then I'm going to just kind of go over the reference with you. So what I'm going to do is, for 2017, since my income is growing by 3%, I want to increase my contributions 3%. So I'm equals, my contribution is going to grow. So last year's contribution was $5,000, so equals equals 5,000. Here's order of operations again, just like I said, times our asterisk. Now I'm going to open up parentheses again because I'm doing it 1 plus my income growth. I got to close that. Now you see I had 1 plus my percentage rate. I had to do that in parentheses because multiplication comes before addition. Now I'm going to close it. Okay, you can see that my income grew by 3%. Now I can automatically fill this in, and you're going to see something happen. Look, it's just staying the same. It's not growing. Now the reason why is, let me go up here. You can always show formula. Okay, the reason why is when I'm dragging my cell over, my formula over basically, you can see that I have cell D9 times 1 plus cell C15. Okay, now in 2018, it keeps dragging over cell E9 times 1 plus cell D15. What it's doing is, my formulas, watch as I click to the right, the cells that I'm referring to are automatically being filled in when I use the autofill feature relative to their location. But over here, I already have my percentage rate hard-coded into cell C3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the absolute cell reference. And the way that I do that is, in this cell instead, I'm going to hit equals my formula again. I really don't need to do the parentheses. D9 times 1 plus, and now for absolute cell reference, for fixed cell reference, I'm going to select my cell. I'm going to close it, but right here, because I'm referring to cell C15 for my income growth, or my contribution growth, but it's based on income. Before the column letter, I'm going to insert a dollar symbol, and before the row number, I insert a dollar symbol. And now that cell will stay fixed. So now when I drag this formula over, you can see that it stays fixed all the way here to the very end. And now I'll go back to show formulas, and now you can see I actually have some growth in my contribution. Okay, so now I'm going to go over mixed cell reference. What you can do is you can lock the column but not the row, or you can lock the row but not the column. And I'll show you how I'll do that. It's actually already done right here in this cell. Okay, so you can see for the low risk investment, what I'm going to do is I'm referring to cell C16. So in my savings account, I'm earning 1% interest, which is 0.01. 1% interest. But if I were to drag this over, you can see it's going to still, it'll be for 2017. It'll show you the balance in my low risk account by dragging it over. But because the column right here, the column letter is fixed, right here it remains the same. Okay, so my previous year balance, what I'm doing is I'm doing my previous year balance, and I'll just go ahead and manually enter this in for you. What I'm going to do in this formula is equals my previous year balance times 1 plus the interest rate. Let's say low risk is savings, bonds medium risk, stocks high risk, plus the interest rate plus my contributions that year. But what I need to do is in this cell, I'm going to lock the column so I have a mixed cell reference. So now if I drag this over, my formula will remain the same, and I have a mix of relative cell reference and mixed cell reference. Let me drag this all the way over to the end of the year, and let me click off Show Formulas, and you can see that my balance is growing. Now let me go back to Show Formula. Now watch this. Okay, keep an eye right here on this part of the formula on any cell. Oh great, I just did that again. You got to be careful. Well, I got to be careful. Maybe you're more careful than me. I'm manually fixing this. Okay. Watch what happens when I drag this formula down. Did you see? See right there in this part? The column remained fixed, but the row number didn't, because it needs to drop down one row to refer to the bonds or the medium risk interest rate, so that these are all correct. So I can actually drag this, this formula down for each one of these, and then I can drag it down. I can drag them over, or automatically fill them in over and down. Click out of Show Formulas, and there. Okay, so you can start seeing the balance. Now remember, I automatically filled in the borders that I had in there. I'm really setting this up. I shouldn't have done that, just in case it confuses you. But you can see our balance keeps growing. And right here, here's our balance of 2020 of the high risk, medium risk, low risk. And then on the very bottom here, I have, low risk balance, medium risk balance, and the high risk balance. And you can see each one is referring to the interest rate, the proper interest rate. Okay, and like I said, just right here, you can refer to other worksheets. For example, in this cell, let me refer to another worksheet. Equals, I'll go to another worksheet. And there, that cell is equal to the content within another worksheet. And then here's what if you're showing formulas, this is what you would see. Show formula. And you can see now that worksheet, that worksheet has a name, so it can either, so the name of that worksheet, sales forecast, and that's what you see. And then right here you can see I'm referring to another workbook. I'll show formulas equals, let me go to another workbook. Now that's an open workbook, and there. Just remember, you can also refer to closed workbooks, but that's for another tutorial. Okay, let's kind of put all of this together and what we've learned. Okay, right here you'll learn I'm clearing content. So I can show you again. You can clear all, clear formats, clear content. I'm gonna just clear content. Okay, so here I started putting together a sales forecast. There we have our months. It's for the year 2016. I'm going to drag this all the way down using that autofill feature that we went over. Okay. Now right here, basically what this sales forecast is going to do is it's going to make a forecast of a rental business. We rent out pontoon boats, jet skis, kayaks, bicycles, and in fact, to make this go by faster, let's just go ahead and get rid of bicycles. Now what I did there to get rid of bicycles is I'm selecting that whole entire row. I'm right clicking. Right here is a shortcut menu, and I'm going to click delete, and I just deleted that row. And I can do the same thing with columns, delete, but I don't want to delete that. Okay. Okay, so this right here, we're going to enter in, let's just say that pontoon boats rent for, let's say $100 an hour. Let's say jet skis rent out for, I don't really know the market value for hourly rentals and jet skis. And there we'll rent out kayaks for $20 an hour. Okay, so let's say in January, we rarely rent out pontoon boats. Let's say we only get, you know, let's say we only get like 80 hours for January. So what I'm going to do is equals 80 times, and I'm going to refer to the hour cell, but remember we have to lock that. Now let me show you how to lock this without manually entering in, or the cell reference needs to be absolute. To do that, just hit F4, and you can scroll, you can basically switch through. I'm hitting the F4 key, different cell reference. We want absolute, so there. We need the column and the row number locked. Okay. Actually, we don't, because I'm not going to be able to automatically fill in a formula there. If I was, I would use absolute cell reference, but I'm not, because, you know, something like this, you're going to manually guess each month of the rental hours. So equals 25 times, I'm really just guessing here. This is obviously not an actual business estimate. I'm just showing you what you can use Excel for. Times our hours equals, and so on. You can keep doing that. I'm going to just keep, now I actually will use the cell reference, just F4 to lock those in, so I can automatically fill this in just to make this tutorial a little bit faster. Okay, just know those are all fixed, but they would vary if you were really entering something in for January. Let's see, we just rent out 100 hours a month equals 100 times the jet ski hours. I'm just gonna and okay, I got a absolute cell reference, and I'm gonna drag that over. Just gotta be making a little bit of money. I'm sure there's a lot of expenses running a business like that, though. Let's just say we run out 250 screw it, 350 kayak hours times $20 an hour. Keep forgetting to lock in my cell reference. Let's drag that over. Okay, so there we have our monthly forecast of what we're going to make. Now here we'll sum up our totals of our rentals equals the sum formula. All right, we can autofill that formula because we are summing up our monthly totals there. And then we can also sum up our annual totals for each rental unit or rental item equals sum. That range of cells. We'll use the Autosum again, remember that? Autosum. Okay, see? Now here's an example where it can be wrong. The Autosum is wrong because it picked the vertical range of cells, but we want the horizontal range of cells over here. That's why you always got to check it. Don't just trust it. Okay, and our total here, that's going to be our annual total of revenues that the business brought in. We can sum it up there, or we could use the sum, the monthly revenue. That'll all come out to the same. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over styling a worksheet. So here we just have content entered in, but there's no styles. It looks very bland, plain. We want to make this more aesthetically pleasing to the eyes. Okay, so the first thing I'll go over is number formats. Number formatting. Since we're doing it's going to be currency, I'll select my entire range of cells there. Remember, I can select an entire range, and I'm going to go up here to the number in the home tab. You see my number group right here is a very simple scroll down, and I can select currency or accounting. Either one of those will work. Currency. Okay, and then you can see it. My cells resized so that the content fit and could be seen. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you're able to see it. Okay, so there my numbers are formatted. Now I can format them to dollars, or it's not only number format but content formatting. I can increase my decimals by, you can see right here I'm clicking the increase decimal, or I can decrease the decimals that are showing. Let's just go ahead and get rid of this cents and just show the dollars. I didn't select all of it though. So I can decrease. Okay. You can do percentage. If there was something that was going to be a percentage, I'll go over that in a little bit. But just know you can format your numbers. And here those are. There's that quick. Right here is like a quick drop down, so you can select what currency. We're doing dollars, so we'll do dollars. But if this was in China, you could, or if it was in Japan, you could use their currency. Okay, so that's a little bit of number formatting. Let's go ahead and take our. Let's say let's format our months. You can format dates. You could use a short date, long date. I really liked the short date better. In fact, I really like just the abbreviation. But now I've formatted my date to be like that. Okay, so you can see our cells have been stretched out from all the formatting we've done. We can resize our cells. The way that we do this is I can resize one individually, just right here in between the cell that I want, the end of the cell that I want to resize. I'm going to put my cursor right in between there. You'll see that the cursor will change into the cross with the arrows. Double click that cell resized. Again, I can do that for not cell, but that column. Okay, column M, double click, or I can select the entire, I can select all of the columns that I want to resize. And then I can pick any anywhere in between a column, double click, and there they're all resized automatically. And you can move things around. Okay. Again, resize individually. Okay. Up here's another thing I could do. Let's just say I want to have the date and time. Now I understand that most computers, they're going to tell you the date and time, but if they don't, you can hit equals today. Anytime you have this open, you can know what the date is. Okay, so we went over a little bit of formatting content. You can also, you know, let's make our dates bold. We can make the content inside different colors. I'm just going up here in the font group. I mean, you can open up a font dialog box by clicking this little arrow in the very bottom corner of each group, and you'll get a dialog box where you can change everything. But most everything, anything that you'd want to change, you can access it right up here on the ribbon, or this by right clicking your mouse. You can get a quick access toolbar, and you can format cells, or up here you can format your content. You can make bigger, smaller, and again, let's resize our cells. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing looking a little bit better. Let's format our cells. Okay, so we'll get our dates. We'll add a color fill, light blue, seems to look good. And now let's format cell B3 and cell O3. Those are like our little step cells that don't belong to any other group. So they can belong to each other, and they can get the same color, which is a slightly darker shade of our months. Okay, we have our categories over here, or our rental items. Let's give them a light gray. Okay, and then our total. Okay, so it's somewhat looking a little bit better. We can add borders. I can add a large border all the way around, a thick outside border. Now, I mean, you're seeing the way I do that. I'm selecting the cell, range of cells. I'm going up here in the font group. Right here is the borders command, drop down menu, and I can select from different types of borders. There, I'm going to put a thick outside border. And then for our totals, now this is going to change my thick outside border. Let me select our total range, there, our monthly total, and I could add like this double top, double bottom. Okay, so that looks kind of pretty. I can do the same thing here. Watch this. I can actually, well, this isn't going to exactly work. I'm going to change some things, but I can copy and paste cells, a range of cells. So copy and paste, Control C, and Control B, or Control V. There, I pasted it, but you can see that it pasted the border. But that's all right. I'll add a border. Someone just rang the doorbell, and I can promise you I'm not stopping this tutorial to go answer it. Thick outside border. Okay. You also have cell styles. I mean, you can come up, let's pick our months again. And you can get up here in the styles group, and all those cells are selected. I could change it to a style. Theme styles. There's also Excel themes. I have tutorials for that. I'm not really going into this into that in much detail, but you can see instead of having to go, and it's just about efficiency. You can instead of having to keep making your own style like we just did with all of these different cells, you could just go in here real fast and change each range of cell into a pre-made style, and you can even make your own new style. Okay, now let me go into something else you can do is text direction. So I could like select our rental item, and right here I could angle it up, but for this worksheet that doesn't really look good. But on on certain worksheets, like if like for the months, it may be better to do. But now we have our content, our cells formatted, so it probably won't look good even with our months. But you can really, we'd have to do that for that entire range of cells, that entire row. It looks all right, except for we have those borders. So you can see, you can sometimes it may make things easier. Or for example, if we use the long date there, or if you had headers that you wouldn't be able to fit across the cell, you could diagonal them, to look more stylish, and you can fit the content in there without affecting the cells that they're labeling. So that actually works out pretty good. Okay, let me go over merging cells. You can merge cells together. Okay, right here I'll put I'm going to type in hourly prices. Okay, so I type that into cell B11. Now I'm going to select cell B11 and drag it. I'm basically going to select that range of cells, which is only 2 cells. And up here in the alignment, I have the merge group. I can merge in center. Merge in center will merge the content together, and it will merge the cells together and center the content. Let me undo that. Right there I could merge across, and then I'd have to manually align my content. So let me select those merged cells, and I can manually align my content right here. I can center it. Left, center, right. Now if this cell was dragged, I can change the width and the height of my cell, just for the purposes of learning. Okay, you can see left, center, right, top, middle, bottom. You can align your text. Then again, I can add a border. I can change the font style. I can bold it, italicized it, and I can add some content fill. Now it's saying it looks decent. Okay, so I think you get merging cells. I mean, another reason you would want to merge cells is, like, say you had a lot to type. You were just typing in a really long sentence that was a lot longer than this sentence. Okay, see, you can read it right there. It's in cell F10. But if I click on cell G10 and I enter in more content, now typing in more content, that's not really, actually has a sense it makes sense, but that's not what these two cells read. More content is what's in cell G10. Let me zoom in. And then in cell F10, you can see it says typing in more content, but you can't read all that. You can read it up here in the formula bar if you need to. I do that sometimes. I'll enter in a lot of content into a cell, and I'll just click on it, and I'll just read what's in the formula bar. Because if it's like, you know, entire paragraph, you can type it in, you can drag it down. You can drag the formula bar down and read the entire, you know, all the content that's within that cell. But once you enter in content into a consecutive cell, you're not going to be able to read that. Now, if I remove that content, I can read it just fine. But if I have, you know, a table or a worksheet that has, you know, multiple categories and sentences typed into them, maybe it's a to-do list and they're broken down into categories. I do that sometimes. I may have to type in something, you know, that I'm not going to be able to read, and I don't want to resize that cell. So I can look up here in the formula bar. Or get back to the point, I can merge. And there, that's all one cell. It did not affect these cells. I can merge across, and I can merge a whole range of cells. Merge cells. Or if I were to type merge in center, then again I can align my content. Okay, I'm going to undo this. Now the way I undo all this is up here. You have your undo button. I'm going to undo all of that. Or let me redo it. Here's my redo button. I'm going to go ahead and select all of these cells. Here's I can clear my content. I'm going to click on clear all. That's going to clear all formats and all content. There. Now we're back to normal. Resize these cells. Zoom out. Okay, let me do conditional formatting. I'm not going to go into great detail, but conditional formatting basically, you can make certain cells stand out. So let me go ahead and select my months, my monthly totals there, and up here in the styles group there's conditional formatting. I can click it, and I can make rules that will make cells stand out. So highlight cells, let's say highlight cells that are greater than, and then I have to enter my value right here that I'm greater than. Dialog box pops up. Highlight cells that are greater than 30,000. There. Except for they're highlighted, that's not really the color that I want. So conditional formatting, highlight greater than 30,000, and let's make that green fill with dark green text. All right, there's our good months. And you can make like a heat map. Now this is where I probably should have changed the values a little bit, like a color scale or a heat map. So like right here we have, you know, greater. You can change your scale. The colors match your scale. You know, like greater values are dark green, and the lighter values kind of get a lower shade of green until they get to yellow. You can make red to green. So like low values are red, high values are green. You can have data bars, for example. Insert data bars there. And like the formats, the colors of the data bars, they're all going to be relative to your greatest and least value. So, you know, of the range of cells. So if I select this whole range of cells, our greatest value in there is 20,000. So insert data bars. Okay, and you can see 20,000 is full. Any cell that has 20,000 is full. Okay, 9,000 is a little bit less than half of 20,000, and 7,000 is relative. But it's a percentage of the cell with the greatest value. And you can do those data bars in different colors. I've never really used data bars, but I may. But there's so many things in Excel to use. You may never use them all. You can do arrows, directional shapes for formatting. I don't know when you may need to use this, but it looks good. It's impressive. If you want to make a good impression, you just know that these tools are available. You can create your own rules. And I'm not going to go into detail on this, but just know that this dialog box is there, and you can create your own conditional formatting rules. Okay. Now what I'm going to move on to is charts. And basically what charts do is they're going to put your data into an easy to read and understand image. So charts, we have our a worksheet here. And what Excel came out with in 2013 was recommended charts. So all I got to do is click on